What's up? We are the Keymakers. I'm Ron.
I'm Red.
We make keys, occasionally other things. Breakfast.
The occasional joke.
We make a lot of jokes. And music. We make music. And we're here to talk about our song, Favorite One.
This was one that we've been waiting to put out for a super long time, so we're excited to dive in and kind of show you a little bit of the magic behind it.
Right.
Cool. Let's dive in. So we made this in Dune, which is taking up the whole window. So we'll just show this for a little bit. But what we have automated here in this orange, which kind of grows throughout the track, which is a theme that you'll see in a lot of other elements, is this cutoff right here. So essentially, you have a low pass filter, which is only letting the lower frequencies through, just the low kind of sub basses and things like that. And then as you slowly move the threshold of what it allows through, you start to get some of those higher tonalities and a bit more growl and grime to the bass, which is what we have over here by the drop.
Yeah, this song, we really wanted to make sure we were building tension throughout it, even though, it has drops, it has like rises and falls. But we wanted to make sure that we kind of reflected the narrative of the song and the writing and really made it like, it's building up to this moment. It's this revenge, it's this feeling, it's this emotion. Let's give them some song.
Oh yeah. So with the bass, of course, you want to generally, not always, but you want to generally kind of separate your bass and your sub. The sub wants to just be punching you in the chest, just driving that, not really handling too much of that higher frequency. The bass and the sub cut off the frequencies so that they don't interfere with each other and cause phase issues. But you can tell just by unsoloing this and then turning it back on. That's really where the meat of the track comes and the body of the track comes out.
It's a good flow, it feels right, but we added a stutter on top of it just to really give it some more flavor. So that doesn't come in until the drop, but I will bring that in now. That cadence, that rhythm, that really adds to it. And once we add in the percussion, you'll see how it kind of all works together. But it really changes it. Gives it much more life, gives it much more feeling, which is what you need in the back end of the track.
Yeah, so once we had this structure done, this framework, had the build coming up to the drop, the next natural step, at least in our brains, was percussion.
Yeah, with house music, which we've been making a lot more recently, percussion is everything. Percussion is key. So it's all about building a flow that really can stand alone on itself, even without synths, without bass, without all of that. Like, can you dance to just the drums? So that's how we always, like, every time we're producing, we always solo the percussion and like try to catch a vibe there and make sure that feels right. And if it does, that really gives us a good spot to build the rest of the track from.
So one of the first things we'll look at in the percussion is this hat and then the clap. So the hat, pretty straightforward. We just have 16th notes repeating here, a little bit of variation in the velocity. That's really a must on something like a closed hat, especially when it's happening this repetitively, because you don't want it to get stale. You don't want it to sound robotic.
It's got to be dynamic.
Dynamic and human too. Anyone could tell that it's not an actual guy sitting at a drum set playing this, but the human ear still is attracted to noises that sound organic, that sound like they've been created by another human and not just programmed in. Bop, 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 bop. You can already start to bob your head a little bit.
So now we got the bass, we got that stutter, and we got the hat. And already with the stutter and the hat, you can feel how it's really coming together a little bit.
The claps is another thing where it's an opportunity, and kind of as we've been growing as producers, this was one thing we learned. Shout out Renzen. We took a class with him a little bit ago. And
The homie.
One of the things that he told us was for a clap, don't just have the same clap, similar to the hats. So when we look at these clap tracks, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 claps playing. Some of them are completely different from each other. Some of them are the same clap with maybe a reverb or a delay on it. All different velocities, things like that continue to go for that kind of human feel. but at the same time keeping the drive going.
And of course, there are other things happening too. We spent a lot of time on the additional percussive elements that weren't just the hat, the clap, and the kick. And we have these congos playing that really, for us, kind of make this percussion. So we spent a lot of time building the sound of these congos, and then something happened to our computer, to Ableton, as it often does, and we lost them. Yeah, we lost them completely, and it was a frustrating, 2 nights? Trying to rebuild them and get them back to where they were. But we were able to do it, and then we froze them and saved them and made sure that we never lose them again.
And then one thing that, once you hear it, you won't be able to not hear it in the track, but it's a vocal element that we added in.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, it's little things like that, little ear candy, little things that you don't hear so loud when you listen to the song, but they're there and you feel them there. That, for us, is really important to us. It separates, a song from a Keymaker song, and I think every artist has their own little thing that they influence, that they inject into their sound. Vocal hits like that are really big for us, and we love playing with those.
And like Rome was saying, if you can dance to just the top line and just the top percussion on your track, then you're in a good spot. Add those vocals in.
I'm sure what you're all asking, what you're all wondering at home is, where's the kick? I'm trying to dance and I can't. So, Red, if you will.
Absolutely. On this particular kick, we tuned it, I guess would be the English way to say that. So for aspiring producers or anyone who just is kind of just hopping into this music, tuning your kick and all of your percussion can be very important if used well. So root notes, the 5th, sometimes the 7th, the 3rd. You want the kick to almost be an additional melodic element, in that it's just giving that body into the track. The bass line sticks around on each note for a long time, so we didn't necessarily want to have a kick that was in the same pocket as that for too long, because those are going to muddy each other's frequency range. So with this, I don't remember exactly which one we went with. Let's check. Yeah, so we went with G for the kick, which I believe is a 5th. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong. But because of that, I believe we avoided a little bit of clashing in the bass relative to the kick and got everything kind of swimming on the low end a little bit, because it's very easy to get a muddy mix and a muddy end product, which we still struggled with even with this track, but this helped us out a little bit.
Funny story, one of the reasons, the early reasons behind the Keymaker name was actually kind of what Red just displayed, which is that we often don't know going into a song what key it is. We're not classically trained musicians. I'm classically trained in the saxophone, but in terms of piano, we do a lot of our stuff by ear. So when we were coming up and writing for people, producing for people, kind of in the studio, everyone knew what key it was, and we just did it. People would ask us what key our song was in, and we just wouldn't know. So it became kind of a running joke. We make our own keys, and we kind of figure it out along the way.
Big texture piece. Through that drop, you were hearing the percussion, the kick, the bass, but there's still a lot of fullness missing from that. A lot of that's going to come from the synths, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but a huge amount of that is going to come from strategically used FX, white noise, crash, white noise like this, and then a crash like this, which I'll solo.
Yeah, by itself, these sounds don't carry a lot, but especially when you have a drop or a moment in the song where you really need to bring out the emotion, you really need the listener to feel it, they add so much to the percussion. Even if you're not really noticing that they're there, they just make that moment mean so much more.
And here's a drop with that FX added in. Same elements we were listening to before.
Bring the build up.
We said that the bass was the first element that we started with. The arpeggio was the second one that got thrown into the track as well.
Yeah, and for us, this is, at least for me, I think for both of us, this is the most fun part of producing, is finding melodies that really feel good, that kind of please, what your ears want to hear, but also, have character, have a unique element to them. And for us, like, that's often found through arpeggios. And with this arpeggio, I think Brad said, this was a song that he started the production and then sent it to me. And I was actually out on a bike ride and listened to the early draft of it, and I was like, this song could be really dope. So I had two thoughts. The first was, I got to write this like right now, and I remember pulling over at a park and just sitting on the grass and writing the majority of this song. Made some tweaks later. Then the second thought was, like, this arpeggio is sweet, and I'm hearing like so many different little tweaks to make to this. So when I got home that night, just kind of went in on this, and it was already a beautiful arpeggio, but just made some tweaks to make it, I think, make a little more sense. And kind of build in different ways, and that's kind of the main synth that y'all hear in the finished product.
So you can see we put in just an enormous amount of FX, plugins, everything on that. It's not always necessary to do that to a song. A lot of this is dynamic. Right, so throughout the track, it'll change, as you can hear. So there's so many things that are growing and increasing or elongating throughout that sound, and that's what a lot of these extra plugins are meant for. It's not all just to kind of beef up the sound or make it sound better or fit into the mix more. You can actually end up messing up a sound pretty badly by trying to throw too much stuff at it.
For sure.
So with this, we reminded ourselves a lot of times, every time we're adding something, one, does it make the actual sound feel better in the mix? And two, how are we going to kind of make this a dynamic element throughout the track?
Yeah, and this arpeggio, this synth is really like, I know he's talking about the bass and the percussion as the backbone of the track, but for me, this is, because it flows, it starts in verse 1 and it never stops throughout the end of the song. So it's really like, it's what drives the track, and you'll see we do a lot of different things to kind of change it up throughout. So this is in the drop. So yeah, this is drop number 1, and then when we bring the sax in to give room for that, we take it lower. But all of this is kind of very different than what we do with it in the second drop, which we'll get more into later. But just to give you a preview of like how that arpeggio changes throughout, this is what we did in the second drop.
Wide sound.
Yeah, so it's like that moment in the second drop is built really by the things that we do in the first drop and throughout the track. Yeah, another thing we really like doing is layering melodies on top of one another, and now we can kind of hear how they play together. So yeah, it's all about just kind of filling out that soundscape, filling out that entire that melodic range.
Mm-hmm. And then one more thing that you'll see as a trend in our music is once we kind of have those bass melodies set and those bass melodic elements set up, we like to have kind of one. I want to almost call it like a tagline, like one sound that comes in, or one melody that comes in. That's the king of the jungle,
right?
And that one, Exactly, yeah. That one comes in here in the breakdown. So this climbing, you can see what's going on with the automation here. Right, it's never static. Here it starts to plateau out, but other elements around it are continuing to move, especially this auto filter here. This one's all over the place, but it's not staying still. It's not, you know, falling into the same melody each time. Every time you hear it, it's a little bit different than the last time.
Another thing to call out in this section, we call it the breakdown, as you can see here. We're very meticulous about labeling sections of our songs. Sometimes we're meticulous. I would say I'm a little more meticulous than this guy. Sometimes I show up in a track and there's one marker in the beginning. It's like a 6 or 7 minute song. But I'm a man who likes organization.
You gotta keep flowing. You gotta keep flowing. The juices are flowing.
There's a time for flow, and then there's a time to say, hey, what do we have here? But hey, you know?
You gotta hustle and flow.
We can't. So I'm hustle, you're flow.
Well, I'm saying there's no stopping.
Okay. Another thing we brought out in this breakdown is the vocals. So we have a lot of vocal textures happening here. I think this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different vocal harmonies. I'm gonna turn these up just so you can hear them.
Silky.
We also have these. And these are just callbacks to the hook. So when it does come in, it hits that much harder. So one of the things we haven't talked about is the sax. We were actually working on the track one night, and like many of our melodies, this one started with us singing it. So we have a voice note on my phone still. It's just like da 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 da. Bring in the melodies. So yeah, that is Carried Away. We hope that you enjoy it more than anything. And
thank you for joining us, for coming into our beautiful studio.
Thank you. Yeah, next time we actually do a lot of producing upstairs in our apartment. Maybe next time we'll bring you there after a little bit of cleaning. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned a little bit something about the track.
Feel free to comment, send us a message, anything that you might have had a question about, anything we said that was absolutely super confusing that you want some clarity on, or if we maybe misspoke, hit us up. You can find us probably most easily on Instagram, or comment on the video, whether that's on YouTube, Facebook, anything. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we love connecting, so please hit us up.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time on a mixed breakdown. Peace.
Peace.
I'm kinda getting carried away.